Hello and welcome to the Pages to Pixels podcast, where we cover a new movie every week. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Keerthana.
And this week we're talking about Megalopolis, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. The logline for Megalopolis is: the city of New Rome faces the duel between Caesar Catalina, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopian future, and the greedy mayor, Franklin Cicero. Between them is Julia Cicero, with her loyalty divided between her father and her beloved. So, some of your thoughts before we get into this,
I think Megalopolis as a movie is one of its kind.
What do you mean by that?
I have not seen, anything come close to the experience that Megalopolis was.
Right.
It was an immersive experience.
I can see where you say that. Yeah.
It was, there was a lot going on.
It seems very ambitious, and, this project, it's been in the works for years now.
Yeah. Apparently this is the movie that he wanted, this is his career pinnacle, this is what he wanted to make. Mm-hmm. I can definitely see, also before it got made, the movie, I know there were a lot of issues, nobody wanted to fund it.
No,
and then basically Francis Ford Coppola just paid for it himself. Mm-hmm. I can see why that happened.
Yeah, it seems like something that producers would generally not greenlight.
Yeah. It is set in a very ambitious world.
It seemed like there was a big smear campaign against it, if you remember, because there was this talk of an actress, actresses being inappropriately handled on set, but then other people came forward and they said, no, that's not true.
Did any info come out on whether it was true?
I just remember that there was someone who came forward that denied the allegations.
Got it.
I don't believe that person necessarily speaks for everyone's experience on set.
Right.
So I guess I will say, do your own research.
No, it's interesting to hear that, because with that additional context, I think it makes it so much, it just makes it so much cooler that the movie actually made it.
Right.
On screen, because I can't imagine how he would have had to pitch it.
Right.
What would you pitch, Mm-hmm. For maybe a little more context, it's set in a version of the US if it was the direct descendant of the ancient Roman Empire.
Yeah. New Rome.
New Rome is what it's called. And the movie is divided in chapters. Mm-hmm. Now, I wasn't able to keep track of all of the chapters.
You mean you didn't know Coda?
No, but that's basically how the movie has been structured.
I feel like Coppola knew this movie was not going to make money, but he wanted to make it anyway. Mm-hmm. So that just begs the question, because the box office for this film is pretty low. I think it's around 10 million. Oof. And the budget was 120.
And that was before marketing, I'm guessing.
Yes.
There was a trailer for this movie that came out where they had quotes, because I guess they were expecting critics to not like it. They had quotes of reviews saying The Godfather was really bad, Apocalypse Now was really bad. Turned out those quotes were fake, and they were generated by AI.
Ooh.
How do you need to generate 10 words?
And the trailer had been taken down afterwards when people realized it was fake.
At that point, if you're going to have it fake, just have someone write it. At least you can't find out.
What is the purpose of using AI there?
Just make just have the team write shitty reviews. I don't know. At least they would have not gotten caught.
Right. But yeah, that begs the question to me is is it really a flop? If the end goal was not to make money and just to make a good quality art?
Yeah, and then also it's I don't know, because if there was so much working against it, I don't know how are we measuring it as successful or not? That being said, what worked for you?
The film visually and stylistically does work at points. Mm-hmm. I can't say it worked all of the time. I think the editing was strong.
Yeah.
I did think that it was highly frenetic. It made the city chaotic. Mm-hmm. It knew when to slow things down. I didn't feel like it was one of those films where a modern editing thing is there's a ton of cuts between characters when they're talking. I didn't notice that. Like, I feel like Coppola is still top form.
I also thought that the costume design was fantastic.
Yeah, actually, that was good.
Because you can see like inspiration from like old Rome. It's really clear, and I thought that the way they modernized it, it was extremely chic, and I also really liked how they modernized like things from old Rome. Like the clothing was very chic. I thought the jewelry was great, and I also really liked that instead of ties, the men were wearing the little wreath around their neck. I thought those were great touches, and the world building was pretty solid.
In what ways?
Just in terms of like, I don't know, like, because for example, old Rome was known, I guess, for its partying culture.
Yeah.
I could see a lot of that here. In the architecture, I could see it. It just felt like if New York City clearly were to come up from old Rome, that's what it would have looked like. That's kind of how people would have behaved. That's why I said it was immersive. I thought it really like brought me into the film. But
I do see where you're going with that, and I mean, I do think that parts of the world work for me. Like, I agree, the party culture is especially highlighted in his like Caesar's cousins. One thing that didn't work in the world for me was when they had this like revolution starting by Shia LaBeouf's character. And then they also have a sign. They have a MAGA sign, but for Rome. Make Rome great again. I was like, are you like this is like from The Boys? Like, there's no way that this is in this movie.
If you can build a fictional world, why not make it better than the one we have to live in, right? Like that's the part that bothers me. It's like you're creating this from scratch. You can choose different flaws than ones that have had like horrible repercussions in the past.
Right, and like how far back does it go?
Yeah.
Also, why is Caesar the only character that can control time?
That was
seemingly
just,
until the end, I guess.
Yeah, that just came in and went away. Like, did it like what if let's remove Caesar's ability to control time?
Yeah.
What change has happened in the story?
The only thing I can think of is Julia is less interested in him.
Sure, yeah, that's it. And Julia's character too. I mean,
she can, but she doesn't even. There's no arc of her learning that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it needed to be in the movie, but it also didn't do anything.
Yeah, no. For context, basically, Adam Driver's character is the only one in the whole film who can control time. He loses that, and then he gets it back. And I'm guessing that that's his arc. And him losing it and getting it back has to do with like him, I guess, losing love and passion for his project and getting it back. At least that's how I read it.
If you create a fictional world, why not make some that doesn't have like the flaws of our world? Are you effectively saying that they shouldn't be using fictional worlds to like do commentary on the real world?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that it's like it just feels like a thing to throw in there because they didn't address it, they didn't do anything about it. It didn't even feel like they were making a commentary on the Confederate flag or whatever the other, or MAGA or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like a blink and you miss it thing.
Yeah.
Like where the protesters had the flag, the MAGA sign, the swastika are there. But at no point are any of the issues that seems used in, are they actually addressed?
Yeah, like if you take The Boys, for example, they show all of these things, but they also at least acknowledge and address it. I thought the character work was a little...
sloppy?
Yeah, I was going to say non-existent. But
confusing, overwhelming, annoying, borderline annoying.
Yeah, because I'm going to start with Natalie Manuel's character. She's a great actor. I loved her in Game of Thrones, but I saw there was not much for her to do here. Same thing, we remove her from the screenplay and not much changes.
Yeah.
Same thing with Aubrey Plaza's character.
I did not like her character arc. I mean, it's very obvious from the beginning that she's just a grifter. It's hardly ever explored.
Right.
And then suddenly she wants even more power. Like, she wants to get him killed so that she gets all of the money. But her plan is so bad that he kills her.
Yes. True, so true. And also, I think my biggest fundamental problem with this story was that the protagonist, Caesar, was unlikable. Like there was he's trying to be this like visionary and this artist. I mean he's obviously like the metaphorical artist of the film.
Yeah.
But nothing that he does or says felt like it was something I could root for. I couldn't particularly understand why like this random like architect had so much power in this society.
It kind of goes to a commentary on like class, right? Because it's like he's born from like a wealthy family. He's kind of had it all, but the public hates him. The mayor hates him. I
think it's really hard to sympathize with characters when they come from that much privilege. Like you have to work really hard to make them feel like the underdog when that happens. But I don't know if the screenplay did that.
And like moreover, I just felt that Caesar's plan for the future is too vague.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing. Okay, so I guess his idea of the future is there's these really cool buildings that admittedly they look cool with these swirls and shapes and stuff. And the only societal benefit that I could find or remember in the movie, because so much of this movie is like a blur, is you can walk on this megalon.
Megalon, yeah.
Yeah, you walk on Megalon and it transports you like that one like a conveyor belt in an airport.
Yep.
Okay, so you invented slightly less walkable. You invented a city that you don't need to walk; you can just stand on. Okay, like big deal. And how does this not impact the current day? Because his whole focus is, I need to improve the future. There's nothing clear about what is beneficial about what he's doing, or if it even is beneficial. He just, I want to do it. I'm a dreamer. Let me do it.
So I mean, I think you're hinting at the fact that there was a stakes problem with his story, where like we don't care for what he wants to do. I get the whole troubled artist thing.
Do you think the character of Caesar is meant to represent Coppola himself in trying to get this film made?
100%. 100%. I mean, it was like not even like shrouded in anything.
Yeah.
It starts with a monologue from Hamlet, and where he pretty much talks to the camera. I think from that I got it like literally in the first scene. I was like, this is like a depiction of the self.
Isn't that Lawrence Fishburne's narration there?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Do you know his character name?
No, I don't. Do you know his character?
Yes, I do. Fundy Romaine. Like that's just that was a really funny fact to me.
Yeah. Also another inconsequential character. Like
he did nothing throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, it was just I don't know. I felt like it was a cool world. The premise was also actually something I could get on board with. I think if we were to pin the blame on one thing that let the story down, I would say it was the screenplay.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like if they had a cohesive, even a structure, it might have flowed a little better.
Well, going back to Rohan's, prompt, I think he wanted this society almost to seem structureless. And since it's so chaotic, maybe that's why he kind of sets this character that's like, okay, I'm going to focus on like making something, making structure. Like it's a literal character that makes structure.
Yeah.
So I can sort of see like a world where he wanted to just have fun with it and not confine himself to the typical screenplay. But I do think as a result, so much of it gets lost because the world is so big and the runtime just doesn't allow for it.
Yeah, exactly. And by structure, I'm not talking about like, there should be an inciting incident, midpoint, whatever. That I know a lot of people are not on board with. I'm just talking about like maybe a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
Like that is kind of where I felt things were missing.
So there's actually been a lot of reports that Coppola was doing a lot of improvisation on set, where they would walk on set and the scenes that were written were thrown out and something new was completely made. When do you think improvisation works in filmmaking, if ever?
I think there's definitely a lot of room for it. I would say that it's worth experimenting, but maybe improvisation is something you build off of a base versus going in with the intent of like we'll figure it out.
I think it's best in small doses.
Right.
Maybe an example would be one of my favorite films is Scream, and I don't want to spoil it too much because it's really deep in the movie. But there is a moment that Matthew Lillard improvises. just in one scene where he's like ad-libbing a couple lines in the climax. And I think that in those moments, like just improvised lines, they don't change the story structure significantly,
Right.
but they add like so much to his character. And I think when it's done in small doses, it's really good. When you're improvising a whole scene or a whole sequence, you are fundamentally changing how the story's going to flow.
I just think it starts becoming an issue when, again, you go into it without a plan, with the intention of like, yeah, we'll figure it out.
I feel like the problem with the characters in this and the way that they're written is just that, kind of what you mentioned about Julia, you know, her character kind of like disappears. So does so many other characters in this film. Like Caesar even disappears for a while, and I'm wondering where are they? What are they doing? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And I think my takeaway was that I just think that whatever they were doing, maybe from improv or whatever decisions they made, it just gets lost.
Yeah.
And Shia LaBeouf was really annoying. Like that. There's no like objective criticism here. I just think he was really annoying.
He still has everything. Like, why is he jealous of Caesar? Like, why does he want Caesar to die? Like, I don't get it.
I think the only thing I can think of is his uncle liked him better. But also, can you blame him?
Yeah. No, but also it's okay. Okay, so uncle likes Caesar better. So what? Like, he's like, Shia LaBeouf's character still living a good life. Like, he's still sleeping with his sisters. He's still going to the parties. Like, his life is not being affected by the fact that his uncle likes this other guy more.
I think he wanted a following like Caesar does, but but you never see Caesar's following until like the end.
You also don't. I also couldn't figure out why Caesar had a following.
Yeah, I mean, it's unclear.
Yeah, no, lots of confusing stuff. Very muddled.
And the dream sequences in this are trippy.
Yeah.
And I do think, you know, one person, you know, social media had been saying like, you need to see this movie like drunk or not sober.
Right.
Like, and I mean, I had to see this film fully sober because I wanted to talk about it on a podcast. I don't really feel like even if I was not sober, I would understand a thing.
Maybe what we need to do is get a whole bottle of the Coppola wine and then go to the theater and then just drink like one glass every time Caesar feels troubled. So Caesar's like not a very likable character, we've established that. But Aubrey Plaza's character is like really into him, like she wants to give him the bank for some reason.
Yeah.
But also like when we're talking about the wife, he cheated on her. He cheated on his wife and then she killed herself because of that.
Yeah.
And he's somehow the victim.
You tell me. I mean, because he doesn't. And then it's never clear. Like, did he actually kill her?
Okay, see, this might not be the legal answer, but I think on an emotional level, he killed his wife.
Yeah.
Because he cheated on her, and that caused her to drive off a bridge. So you can argue that it was his action that directly caused her to die.
Yeah. Either way, he was the
Yeah.
What scene stood out to you in this film?
That is such
for
a
better
good question.
or for worse?
There was this one scene where they were driving through the city and there were these like statues that were obviously like the remnants from like old Roman architecture that like bled into the society. And as the society was collapsing, those statues like collapsed also. I thought that was a really cool visual.
Yeah.
But at this point we're digging. I also liked the scene where Caesar gets shot.
Oh, yeah. I did anticipate that.
Yeah, I could feel it coming and I was like, oh, they're gonna have him dead. How are they gonna fix this? And the solve was not impressive, but you know.
Yeah, I honestly think maybe the movie would have fared better if he did die.
If he did die, yeah.
Because then it would be like, she has a purpose now. She has to carry on his legacy.
Sure.
And her dad would be like, why are you doing this for this guy? You never did anything for me. I feel like that's a really interesting plot.
Yeah.
But
look, Kevin, you fixed Megalopolis.
I don't know. Some people really love this movie despite the immense criticism.
Yeah.
My scene that I think worked really well was the scene where Caesar gets canceled in this big arena. Grace Vanderwall, I believe I don't remember her character's name. She's like Vespa something.
Yeah,
Vesta.
she's like this virgin singer.
Yeah.
Person. Yeah.
They praise her because she's a virgin, and then it turns out that she and Caesar slept with each other and she's like underage, so then he's getting canceled while at the same time he's on this trippy like drug and drunken like tour through the backstage. I thought that those like combined, those scenes worked really well to create just a strange and memorable sequence. It all gets reversed like immediately, where it's like, oh no, she's actually of age and actually it was doctored and this whole thing didn't make any sense. And then but what does she do in order to change her career? She goes like full like Miley Cyrus in an abrupt cut where she's singing like punk rock. Like I thought that was really funny.
All right, so for a little context, we do our scoring based on the screenplay coverage scale, where we say pass if the movie was not good. We say consider if it was good, and recommend if we really liked it. This is not a recommendation, it's just a score. So with that context, what will you score Megalopolis?
So I do want to say that, like, you know, not thinking about my personal opinion, if I were in that position, like reading this script as a producer, I probably would pass. But going into the movie, I was like, I really don't want to be that producer that does that. Like, I want to root for it. But, you know, when I'm actually thinking of the quality of the movie, I personally would give this a pass. I'm not really impressed by the work that they did, considering how much time they devoted to it, how much work went into it, how much talent that they have behind it. I feel like there are pieces there to create a great movie. Yeah. And ultimately, it just doesn't come together. I didn't like it. I thought it was, at best, ambitious, and at worst, annoying. Yeah. And so for me, if a film annoys me for a majority of the runtime, I can't co-sign it. I didn't like it, but I don't think it's like the worst movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, that has to be Mulholland Drive, right? No, I'm just kidding.
You saw the soul leave my body. It is Halloween.
Let's see. I'm gonna give it a consider, which I know is like.
Whoa!
Let me justify this because your face went red.
I'm more like embarrassed because it's like I just was like, this movie.
No, I agree with everything you said. In fact, I'm gonna add on to it and say even the VFX was disappointing because when they had the green screen moments, it was not well done. But
remember the shadows? They looked so bad. They were supposed to be people.
Yeah. It was just.
They looked terrible.
No, it was not like. Yes, I have all the same complaints, but I just feel like I still enjoyed it. I still, like, just objectively speaking, I walked in the theater and I walked out saying, what the fuck, but I still enjoyed the time I spent in the movie theater.
Right.
So I would, if you guys have 3 hours to kill, like, I would say consider it.
It's definitely memorable. Yeah. And I do think that, like, if you don't watch it, you won't know how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's definitely like it's got its fun moments.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to someone who may like Megalopolis or may want to watch something very similar?
So again, this was another question that I found myself struggling with. I think that a good comp would be Kalki, which is a Telugu film. I think it's on Amazon Prime, I think. Or it might be on Netflix. It's one of the two. But I'm comping this because of the world building. Both of them are set in these extraordinary worlds that we kind of recognize, but are significantly different than ours. I just thought Kalki did a better job of holding the narrative together.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
I'll check it out. I am recommending Strange Days, directed by Catherine Bigelow. It is a sci-fi movie set in, I believe it's a futuristic New York. With Ralph Fiennes and Angela Bassett. And it's about an ex-cop who sells these recordings of real people's memories on the black market. And what I think made me think of this in comparison to Megalopolis is it is this like larger-than-life world with a very specific niche thing that centers around the main character, but also it's a guy who is really focused on the past, like his past relationship, versus Angela Bassett, who is actually working alongside him, and it's like he wants to use this technology in order to help him recall the past, whereas she wants to use the information from it to change the future. And so I thought those two themes really come together well in that film. What else have you been watching?
I'm so late to this, but I have recently watched Succession.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm years late. But
Don't worry, I'm even later.
I've been binging it. I binged it over the weekend. And I thought it's really fun. I mean, I know people have recommended it to me, and I'm sorry I put it off for this long, guys. It was totally worth it. How about you?
So I just watched It's What's Inside on Netflix. It's a comedy mystery that involves these friends that get together for a pre-wedding party, and one friend brings a body swapping machine, and they start playing a game that goes wrong.
A body swapping machine. That sounds fun.
I also watched Uzumaki episode 1 on Max. It was okay. It's basically it's an anime adaptation of a Junji Ito manga where basically this town is going insane because they keep seeing spirals in the world.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because the first episode was really praised, and the second episode, apparently there was a big quality drop in animation.
Oh.
Because apparently funding just got axed. The original production director got axed and was carried by a different team. So I just wanted to say, stop screwing over animators.
Yep.
Stop doing it.
It's also so sad when you see like actual creativity take a hit because of like business decisions behind the it sucks.
So that's it for this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kevin.
I'm Keerthana, and we'll see you again next week with a brand new episode. Thank you.
Thanks.